my name is Nico Neugebauer and this is the Columnstore and the Batch Execution Mode video log. Today we're not talking about the Python, because this is not a Python. This is a very serious shark, and we are talking today about the differences when running the batch mode on the Rowstore Indexes, the new exciting thing, and the good old Columnstore Indexes with the batch execution mode. When to choose what? Find it out in this episode. Let's dive into the details. First of all, in SQL Server 2019, we finally have received the batch mode on the Rowstore Indexes. Everybody get excited, yeah! And some people started saying, I'm still running my Rowstore Indexes on my data warehouse. I don't want to worry. I will not need to worry about the Columnstore Indexes. I don't want to know anything about their fragmentation or maintenance or whatever the thing is. There are advantages and of course they have their problems. I will simply upgrade to 2019 when it's out, or I will use the Azure SQL database and I will have the batch execution mode on the Rowstore, right? Is it simple? Let's take a look at the details. First of all, well, you won't get the Columnstore and Columnstore archival compression, which is in generally, I expect it to be 2-3 times better than the page compression. If you're using Columnstore archival, you might get additional 15 to 30%. Well, I actually see more, well, like the general number, right? So staying on the Rowstore is still limited with the traditional page compression, which will convert into spending more money on storage and slowing down your writing performance, right? Secondly, you will not get all the super juicy, super enterprise optimization of advanced storage engine, such as local aggregation and aggregate predicate pushdown. Well, some analytical query can do, milliseconds even when you're using billions of rows. So sorry, they're still not implemented for the Rowstore, probably will never be. Another thing, if you're using Hackathon, which is called in the modern times in-memory or OLTP, you won't get the index scan in the batch execution mode, meaning it will not run that fast as you would expect. Otherwise, if you have any load, and if you just put it in the predicate or even select whatever, it disables your batch mode completely without the Hackathon on the traditional Rowstore. So you gotta be careful about those things, right? So you need to keep it all in your head. Otherwise, we have no trivial plan of optimization. SQL Server 2017, one huge optimization that Microsoft did is if you have a Columnstore index in your execution plan, you will get your execution plan fully optimized. And that allows you to have the batch execution mode. Well, if you are on the Rowstore, you will see more trivial plans, which will result in a raw execution mode. So you will not get the comparable execution times for the same queries on the Rowstore and the Columnstore. And then, well, I guess it will be enterprise only feature. So if you're running on standard or express edition, you can still use the Columnstore indexes with the batch execution mode, but it's my uneducated guess that you will need an enterprise edition for that, because this feature will be pretty much required. I will be happy to say that I was wrong if it will be allowed everywhere, but I still consider it to be not the development but the performance feature, which in the typical examples of Microsoft distribution of the features means an enterprise edition. Another thing to mention here for the Rowstore advantage are some better predicate pushdowns. Though I have to say that besides the null expressions, which are obviously playing into the favor of the Rowstore indexes, string predicate pushdown as an enterprise feature, I have already seen with Columnstore indexes, and they're really nice and juicy. The dictionary predicate pushdown can give some advantages even over Rowstore. So these are the things to consider. Another thing I want to give you is a decision plan for the batch mode on the Rowstore, when to use it. So are you running analytical queries? No, then you do not need the batch mode on the Rowstore indexes. Just shut it down, disable. I mean, if you're running the OLTP pure, you do not want to worry. Just disable it on the database level. Does your workload requires a feature that is not currently supported by the Columnstore indexes? If it's not, then go and use the Columnstore indexes. They are still here, they will always be. I hope so, at least. In any case, if you require something like a clustered Columnstore and transactional replication, which unfortunately is still not supported or whatever, well, you go to the next step. And here is a very important question. Is your workload a CPU bound? If your workload is stopped or slowed down because of the other problems, such as the memory or the disk I/O, it's not exactly like the batch execution mode will bring you huge advantages. But if you say, yes, I'm CPU bound by my workload, I cannot use the Columnstore indexes because of that and that. I'm running mostly, or I run some important analytical queries, then the batch execution mode on the Rowstore should be on your consideration list. Let's take a look at a couple of the examples that I mentioned before. Let's consider a couple of the examples. On this instance, I have a couple of the databases. One with 100 gigabytes in the Columnstore indexes for the TPCH, and then the same data with Rowstore indexes. I have already created the clustered index on the line item table for both databases. And let's consider their size, the full size of the clustered index. As you can see on the image, a perfect Rowstore compressed index of the data will occupy 43.8 gigabytes, while the Columnstore index will go almost half of the size with 23.7 gigabytes. Consider another example. Here we're doing a simple count and max operation against the Columnstore first, and then the Rowstore 600 million row line item tables. I won't run the queries in the real time, but if you look at the execution plans, you will notice that here we are doing a full aggregate predicate push down for the Columnstore, and here we're reading the whole 600 million rows out of the Rowstore table. The estimations are quite clear. It means everything is here and just 1% is here. I know you might say just the estimation, but take a look, because I ran the query already in advance. Here we have the 6 second for the Columnstore indexes execution, and here we have over 6 minutes. To be precise, 355 seconds of the Rowstore. And this is the huge difference for such type of the queries. Consider the last example. This time I will use a 1 gigabyte TPCH table, and I will do some aggregation against the same old line item table. First query will run against the Columnstore index, and then the same query will run against the Rowstore. The syntaxes I am using here is just in order to prevent the aggregate predicate pushdown, and so to compare without the advanced tweaks where the Columnstore index will definitely be winning. So let's execute both queries and let's take a look at the execution plans. It takes a couple of seconds to finish. Let's take a look. First of all, you see both queries are running with a single thread. The expectations, first of all, are that the first query is significantly faster than the second one. So let's take a look at the messages and see the execution time. So in this reality, we took 189 milliseconds for the Columnstore index, and we took almost 5 seconds to finish the same job with the Rowstore index. So what happened? If we take a look at the properties of the first execution plan, you will notice that the optimization level of our first query is full, meaning that as the consequence of the full optimization, we've got the batch mode running in the huge part of our execution plan, Columnstore Indexes, as we say. What about the second query? Oh, here we go. Because I set the minimum threshold for parallelism to 100 query bugs, and in my case, it didn't hit this threshold, it still stayed as a trivial optimization level. And as the consequences, you can see that the batch execution mode on the Rowstore didn't kick in. And that's why we executed this query against almost 6 million rows painfully slow on the Rowstore. This is another advantage for the Columnstore indexes and their batch execution mode, the full optimization of the queries. I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and if you have any questions, just put them in the comments or just drop me an email. In any case, if you enjoyed the video log series, subscribe to the channel Columnstore and the batch execution mode. See you next time. Cheers and bye bye.